Let's take a look through Monday morning's newspapers now. With us, the economics commentator at the New Statesman, Grace Blakely, and Guido Fawkes reporter Tom Harwood. Welcome back both.
Good morning.
We are going to start with the front page of the Times, Grace. And this is the battle to stay as Prime Minister, and the runners and riders that put themselves in front of the TV cameras over the weekend that could potentially replace her.
Yeah, so May to face leadership battle over Brexit deal. This is, again, we've seen Boris Johnson come out recently. He's had a haircut, which is, the big indicator that he's going to be running.
I did see a number of other MPs going, hang on a minute, I had a haircut this weekend as well.
Fair enough. It's more noticeable on someone like Boris, I think. But the places of the Conservatives in a very interesting position because they've got to pick two candidates to go up in front of the membership for a vote. Obviously, most of the kind of Conservative parliamentarians aren't big fans of the idea of having Boris in a position of leadership, presumably for both electoral and personal reasons. The other contenders, there's a story today that Javid is the least popular of the least unpopular of all of those other contenders, which indicates the kind of level of competition that you've got going on here.
I think it was a poll in the Sunday Times that said, who do the public support for the next Prime Minister? None of them. When they went through all the Tory candidates, Jeremy Corbyn, it seemed that they weren't very popular, not very many of them getting over 40% of the public backing to be the next Prime Minister.
But then again, with polls like this, I mean, a lot of the public haven't heard of a lot of these people. So actually, when you look at, YouGov did a poll a few weeks ago where Boris Johnson had higher favourability ratings than Ruth Davidson. But it turned out that that was mainly because most people hadn't heard of who Ruth Davidson was. So you've always got to add a little caveat like that to these sort of polls. But ultimately, I think that everyone is gearing up towards a sort of shadow leadership campaign. Things are definitely going on, and we saw over the weekend how many of these potential candidates came out in front of our TV screens.
Yeah, there's a lot of manoeuvring over the weekend, wasn't there? And Tom, take me to the Telegraph front page.
Yeah.
Theresa May praying for deliverance as vote looms. In what form might deliverance come?
Well, Theresa, number 10's line for the last few weeks is that this is the final deal, it can't be changed, this is it, it's this or chaos. Whereas actually, Theresa May was on the phone last night to Donald Tusk, the President of the EU Council, asking what more concessions could be delivered. So it looks like the parliamentary pressure might just be working in terms of getting a stronger line from Britain and a better deal. And it's illustrated with this picture of Theresa May turning up to church yesterday. A very lonely figure standing in the rain with an umbrella. And a lot of the papers have used this to sort of illustrate how much of a lonely figure she looks today.
Let's move away from Brexit, but sadly not moving away from misery. This is on the Guardian front page, Grace. Train chaos. 6 months more misery for passengers on Northern Rail.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, you've seen the train franchising system just absolutely isn't working. There's been disaster after disaster after disaster. We saw the other day that we're seeing another above-inflation hike in fares. And people are just generally deeply unhappy with the train services all over the country there. Overpriced and kind of not of particularly high quality.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone saw the pictures on social media from Manchester Piccadilly over the weekend.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people desperately trying to get on platforms to get trains that were either cancelled, shortened carriages, or just, delayed. Let's talk, Tom, about the Express. President Macron says sorry.
I find this headline just fantastic, actually. Macron says sorry as he cuts taxes again after riots. There's been a lot of reporting about these yellow vest protests and what they're about, and certain political causes have tried to latch onto them to sort of pretend that their causes are more popular. Ultimately, what these protests were always about from the start was people being upset at fuel tax increases. And Macron has relented. He's not going to raise the taxes, and he's delivering a TV address tonight where he's about to apologise to the people. He's got incredibly low opinion favourability. He's got the lowest favourability of any French president in history at this point into his presidency. So all these sort of centrists in the UK crying out for a British Macron, it might not be going so well.
Yeah, OK, all right, Tom, Grace, we'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next hour for more stories from inside today's papers. But right now we're going to get a check on the weather on the front pages of one of the tabloids. It says it's going to be Snowbox Britain. Let's find out from Nazanin.